We're live from Washington, Amman, Beirut, and Tehran, where we begin with Ali Hashim. Ali, these last few hours, there have been new waves of attacks on Tehran. What more can you tell us about the strikes on the capital and other parts of Iran that happened on Friday?
Yes, Mohammed, several airstrikes during the past hours, especially here in Tehran, Sharak Mahallati, Shahr Pardis, Karaj. These are areas that were hit by Israeli-American warplanes. Also reports of airstrikes or explosions in Shahri to the south of Tehran. Besides, there are reports of strikes in Tabriz and also Isfahan. Now, in parallel, the Iranian armed forces announced the 70th wave of attacks on Israel and the United States. According to the statement, missiles and drones were launched towards bases in the Gulf and towards Israel. Also, there are reports from the armed forces with respect to areas they've been launching rockets towards. So, in general, the picture from here, from Tehran, we have more airstrikes around the city itself. We have airstrikes in the areas, in the provinces, and launches towards the Gulf and Israel.
All right, that's Al Jazeera's Ali Hashim live for us from Tehran. Thanks so much, Ali. Iran's supreme leader says U.S. and Israeli attacks have failed to divide his people. In his Persian New Year address, Mojtaba Khamenei said the assassinations of Iranian officials have unified the nation instead of triggering an uprising.
This war came about after the enemy despaired of a massive popular movement in its favor, and with the illusion that if it could kill the head of the system and a number of the system's pillars, it would instill fear and despair in you, our dear people, drive you from the field, and in this way realize its dream of dominating Iran and then dismembering it.
Israel has launched new strikes on Beirut's southern suburbs after issuing forced evacuation orders for several neighborhoods. The military says it's striking Hezbollah targets in the Lebanese capital. Israel also attacked parts of southern Lebanon, where it's expanding its ground offensive. More than 1,000 people have been killed in Lebanon since hostilities resumed between Israel and Hezbollah on March 2nd. Obeida Hito joins us now live from the Lebanese capital, Beirut. Obeida, just tell us what's been happening these past couple of hours.
Absolutely, Mohammed. As you mentioned, those airstrikes here in Beirut happened in the southern suburbs neighborhood just behind me, this very dark part of the city that has been mostly abandoned because of these, as you mentioned, forced evacuation orders by Israel since March 2nd. Hundreds of thousands of people left this neighborhood. Earlier tonight, around 2 hours ago, there were two strikes just 2 minutes apart in two different parts of the neighborhood. We've seen a large amount of destruction at the site of one of those attacks. There are no reports currently of any injured people or people killed. However, it is a significant development because previous to these attacks, there was about 48 hours of silence here in Beirut, especially in the southern neighborhood, the southern suburb neighborhood, where there haven't been any attacks. So this is a renewed escalation here in the capital, Beirut. But the intense fighting continues in southern Lebanon. Over the past hour or so, there was a Israeli airstrike reported in Bir al-Salasil. There are other fronts that are also active throughout the day. The Hezbollah, on its part, announced today that it carried out 55 attacks on Israeli troops, both in Lebanon and in Israel. This is the largest number of attacks by Hezbollah in a single day ever recorded, the way I understand it. So this is a very significant escalation as Israel tries to open up several fronts, one of them a brand new front in the southwest quarter of the southern part of the country at Naqoura, trying to make a cross over the border into this southern Lebanese area near the Mediterranean Sea. But Hezbollah continues to carry out attacks on Israeli troops as well. So this looks like it's turning out to be a long and drawn-out conflict, something that's concerning two people here, over 1 million people displaced in the country, and the death toll continues to rise. Over 1,000 people now killed. Just yesterday, 20 people killed by Israeli attacks on Lebanon.
All right, that's Obeida Hito with all the latest from the Lebanese capital, Beirut. Thanks so much, Obeida. The Israeli army is being accused of cutting off southern Lebanon from the rest of the country. France has been trying to mediate to bring an end to the conflict between Israel and Hezbollah. But as Zaina Khuda reports from Beirut, there's still no end in sight.
A war in its third week, with no path towards a ceasefire. Israel is threatening that what's coming will be more intense and more severe as long as Hezbollah continues to launch rockets across the border and refuses to disarm. It's already expanded its targets, destroying bridges across southern Lebanon. Israel says they are on Hezbollah supply routes. Fuel stations, it says, are affiliated to the group have also been hit. The Israeli military has ordered hundreds of thousands living there to leave. They have little choice, with an aerial campaign that has killed more than 1,000 people. Paramedics, too, have been targeted and killed. Their centers and ambulances hit. And while Israel says they are being used by Hezbollah, human rights groups say the strikes amount to war crimes. Israel is accused of cutting off the south from the rest of the country. Its troops are advancing into Lebanese territory. Israeli army video shows them operating in border villages, but they have come under fire. Hezbollah is hoping to increase the cost of the war, but it's not clear how long it can sustain the fight. France has been trying to mediate an end to the hostilities, but before the French foreign minister's arrival, the Israeli Security Cabinet said it was discussing unprecedented action against Hezbollah. A clear message that a proposal by Lebanon's government to offer a permanent non-aggression pact with Israel was not enough. All the while, negotiations are being conducted under fire as both sides try to secure military gains for political leverage.
More than 1 million people are struggling to survive. That's 1/5 of the population. Some are living in tents or sleeping in their cars. The government is unable to deal with the challenge, and UN agencies complain about the lack of cash because of a shortfall in global funding for humanitarian aid.
Lebanon's appeals to President Donald Trump to stop the attacks have been met with silence. The U.S. has reportedly lost faith in a leadership that promised to disarm Hezbollah. So with no diplomatic opening, it's uncertain where this war is heading. Zaina Khuda, Al Jazeera, Beirut.
Lebanon is struggling to provide for the hundreds of thousands of people displaced from the south and Beirut's southern suburb. The country is providing basic shelters but relies on charities to provide much of the medical and food aid. Bernard Smith reports from Beirut.
As soon as the fighting started, World Central Kitchen contracted 10 professional kitchens in Beirut to start preparing food. And since then, they've scaled up to 25,000 hot meals a day, providing essential meals to people internally displaced from southern Lebanon and the southern suburbs of Beirut.
Aline Kamakian owns 7 restaurants in Beirut, but this conflict means she's only able to keep 2 open. Catering for the NGO World Central Kitchen stops Aline going bankrupt and keeps her staff employed.
We are the fastest to respond. We are anticipating where the internally displaced people are arriving. We are being there almost before they come with hot meals, with water, with everything, so that they can feel that they are welcome, safe. They arrive to a kind of homey place.
Lebanon's cash-strapped government is relying on charities to provide for people in its shelters.
The food is good, the treatment is good, and they are really taking care of us. The food is very good and they're not falling short with us at all. Last year too we were displaced to the same place.
More than 1 million people are now internally displaced in Lebanon because of the fighting between Israel and Hezbollah. That's almost a fifth of the population.
A lot of consideration goes into the menu. The food has got to be nutritious and provide some comfort, a taste of home for people who were forcibly evacuated from their homes with little or no notice and find themselves living in very basic circumstances and with little or no idea of when life will get back to normal. Bernard Smith, Al Jazeera, Beirut.
Israel says a new wave of missiles have been fired from Iran. On Friday, sirens and explosions were heard in central Israel after Iran launched a barrage of missiles. One landed near a residential building in Kiryat Ono, within the greater Tel Aviv district. Homes were damaged in other strikes, including an attack on the nearby city of Rehovot. Earlier, a Palestinian man was injured after fragments of an intercepted Iranian missile struck an area near the walls of the old city in occupied East Jerusalem. They landed about 300 meters from Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. Israeli police say they were conducting searches to locate the fallen parts of projectiles. For the first time since 1967, Israel has barred Palestinians in occupied East Jerusalem from performing Eid prayers at Al-Aqsa compound. Well, Rob McBride is following the developments out of Israel from the Jordanian capital, Amman. So, Rob, on Friday, sirens and explosions were heard in several parts of Israel. Just talk us through all that's been going on and the concern that it's caused.
Yeah, in fact, in the last few hours, these early hours of this Friday morning, there have been a flurry of missile activity with Iranian missiles incoming, being targeted, with alarms being raised in the Jerusalem area, in central and southern Israel. There have been explosions reported in the central area of Israel, and we're now getting media reports of a synagogue near Tel Aviv being damaged by falling debris. Earlier, the south of Israel was once more targeted. The authorities saying that missiles were fired at the West Red Sea area and also the Negev desert. Again, explosions, presumably from interceptions. Meanwhile, the alarms were raised in the north of the country along the border with Lebanon, the city of Rosh Pinah and surrounding towns. Residents there told to take cover, to take to their shelters. That alarm has now been lifted once more. But this does follow a pattern. The past day or so, we've seen this flurry of activity, these rolling air raid alarms. The authorities say that in the past, yesterday, there were about 9 separate salvos of incoming Iranian missiles. In addition to that, missiles from Hezbollah. And all of this, these missiles, they tend to be intercepted. They tend to fall as debris quite often. Some of the warheads tend to be cluster munitions, which break into much smaller bomblets. So even though in themselves each of these impacts tends to be relatively small, causing limited damage, limited casualties, it does tend to be spread over a much wider area, therefore causing widespread damage over much larger areas and also widespread disruption to everyday life.
And Rob, as we mentioned a few minutes ago, fragments from an intercepted Iranian missile landed a few hundred meters from the Al-Aqsa Mosque compound. One person was injured as a result. What more can you tell us about that incident?
Yeah, that was probably one of the more noteworthy impacts that took place because, of course, given the religious importance of the location in the old city, this debris from this missile fell in the occupied east of Jerusalem, just 350 meters from the Al-Aqsa compound. And also it came at the end of a day of heightened tensions with the Israeli occupation authorities there because they had insisted on applying this emergency powers, which applies to the old city, which includes the closure of Al-Aqsa Mosque since the start of this war. Now, that meant that for worshippers who wanted to mark the Eid festivities, the end of Ramadan, they were prevented from reaching the mosque. The first time that's happened since 1967. There were some angry standoffs, some clashes with police. Instead of thousands of people turning out and getting access to the mosque, several hundred worshippers did get as close as they can and still held prayers just beyond the police cordons before dispersing once more.
All right, that's Al Jazeera's Rob McBride live for us from Amman in Jordan. Thanks so much, Rob. Iran is keeping up attacks on neighboring Gulf states. A series of drone and missile strikes targeted Kuwait, the UAE, and Saudi Arabia. Emirati air defenses intercepted several projectiles over the skies of Dubai. Drones also hit a Kuwaiti refinery for the second day running, as well as Saudi Arabia's eastern region. Earlier, the Iranian president, Masoud Pezeshkian,